U.S. senators reaching an agreement on key parts of a $1.2 trillion bipartisan infrastructure bill that could be approved for formal debate as soon as tonight. Hidden in the bill is language that could have an incredibly disruptive impact to the crypto industry if left as is. Joining us now to discuss is Blockchain Association Executive Director Kristin Smith. Welcome, Kristin. So zooming out, explain to us what this bill is all about and then how it affects the crypto industry.
Yeah, so at the highest level, there's a large infrastructure package that's coming together that has been a priority for Democrats in both the House and the Senate, as well as the White House. And so, this is something that's been going on for a long time. And when Congress spends large amounts of money like that, they need to offset those expenditures with, revenue raisers. And so one of the places that Congress has been looking is to get better compliance for crypto taxes. Now, the centralized cryptocurrency exchanges have been in long discussions with the IRS about the right way to come up with a sort of 1099 style reporting that would make it easier for consumers and investors to pay their taxes. But what's problematic about the language that was tucked into the bill over the weekend is that the provision goes beyond centralized exchanges to define a broker as something that would encompass both, decentralized exchanges, peer-to-peer exchanges, and the way it's written, we think would encompass software wallet developers, hardware wallet manufacturers, multi-sig providers, potentially governance token holders, and maybe even miners. And so it was sort of hastily drafted. It was done without a lot of input from stakeholders. And so, folks in the industry in Washington right now are all working together to try to get this changed before the bill moves forward. But definitely something that we're watching because there is a good chance that this package does make it through the Senate. I think the politics of the House sort of remain to be seen. But the problem is once you get something like this in those packages, it's hard to get them out because they tend to sort of be closed for debate. So we're all working and we're doing our best. But I think that if there are folks out there that want to weigh in with their congressman on something like this, like now would be the time.
Right. I can't imagine how that would even be done. A miner as a broker, software wallet developers, it just seems like an incredibly disconnect or lack of education on, how would that even be possible?
Yeah, no, this is the type of thing that isn't even possible, right? And so it would have the effect of either sort of shutting down those services here in the US, pushing them overseas, or just having, different parts of the ecosystem operating out of compliance. So yeah, it's definitely not a practical thing. The good news is we do have a lot of champions that are working and having discussions with their colleagues.
Right. How are you addressing this issue with Congress?
Yeah, we're talking with everyone we can get a hold of. We're talking with the Joint Committee on Taxation, with the Finance Committee and Ways and Means Committee in the House and Senate. And then we have, traditional allies like Senator Lummis and others that are very actively engaged on working with their colleagues. Because what happens is when they need to find money quickly. And so they often tend to rush things without vetting them, without thinking them through. This isn't good policy making when you jam everything in last minute. And so, we're hoping to use the process arguments. We're hoping to use the arguments on the lack of practical way to implement this language to help us. And so definitely going to be one of our top priorities here as we head into the August recess here in Washington, D.C.
It sounds like policymakers are sounding the drum beat in terms of cryptocurrencies more and more. There were a trio of hearings yesterday around digital currency. Senator Warren had a couple of comments calling the crypto space full of shady coders. Senator Sherrod Brown calling the crypto community phony populism. I wonder what your response towards that kind of criticism.
Yeah, no, I mean, listen, if you look across the board, the attention that policymakers are paying to cryptocurrency is at a level we've never seen before. Some of that attention is very good, where there are lawmakers that have really spent time learning about this space, and we've been a part of those discussions, and they understand the value of these networks, and they understand the innovation that can be derived from these networks going forward. But there are others that either know and don't want to listen or haven't had time to listen to the community to hear the potential that we see out there. So the education is ongoing. I think the unfortunate thing that we're starting to see, though, is there is a partisan divide that seems to be coming to this space. This shouldn't be a partisan issue. There are wonderful benefits around financial inclusion, about removals of the middlemen, about democratization that crypto networks are supportive of, and that should be messages that resonate on both sides of the aisle. So I think what's going to happen is over time, as there's more adoption of cryptocurrencies and crypto networks, and consumers and businesses have new applications in their lives that are powered by these networks, we will see better policy and better rhetoric. But when lawmakers come to it for the first time, they're often confused, and so they resort to the things they know, like climate, like ransomware, like illicit finance, because that's where they're comfortable. But we think the more
Kristin,
adoption, the better this will become.
You mentioned down partisan lines. How do Republicans and Democrats differ in terms of how they regard cryptocurrencies?
Well, Republicans right now seem to be, for the most part, not universally, but for the most part, we seem to be rallying around the potential for innovation, the fact that crypto networks are sort of an antidote to big tech and to big finance, and also a competitive advantage against China. On the Democratic side of the aisle, there tends to be focus on climate issues, particularly as it relates to Bitcoin mining, to the use of cryptocurrencies and ransomware, which is a topic that came up at the hearing this week, and also just sort of general illicit finance. There also seems to be concern about consumers not having enough information, or maybe being taken advantage of by different players in the marketplace. So, I think that this is something that we can overcome over time, but it's definitely in the past couple weeks, the partisanship has grown to a level that we haven't seen before. So it's unfortunate, but I think that we can recover from it, more education and more adoption.